Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Candid Conversations about network marketing with BK and Dr. Wayne over the other end. Hi, Dr.
Hi
Wayne.
everyone. Hi BK. Great to be here again on our Friday.
Yeah, good to see you on Friday mornings. Of course, it's morning for us, but it might not be by the time you hear this or whichever part of the world you are in. So,
Yes.
welcome everyone. So, Doc, I think it has become my famous question for you on every Friday. I always ask. So, what are we going to talk about today?
Yes. The the topic today is, I think, would be really nice because we spoke last time about getting into overwhelm, how we can get out of overwhelm. What happens is when the economy may go down or there might be a virus, and we basically, unfortunately, ourselves can then feel emotionally drained. And I think you mentioned a really interesting part as well. Like when something like this happens, when it's forced on us, we then have a tendency to say, okay, we'll have a little holiday, we'll have a little break. And then after a little break of 1 or 2 weeks, and it's, no, I need to do some stuff. So I suppose the topic I'd like to touch on today is, okay, becoming that leader that you know is deep inside you. And, for those people who maybe don't want to become that leader, whereby you might be leading thousands, you might only want to lead 10 or 12, or you might only want to, lead's probably not the right word, but it's the word that we all understand.
Yeah.
Even if you want to just be there for your family, lead the family, so to speak. So it can be from the micro right up to the macro in terms of how much of a leader do you want to be? And remembering in network marketing, the more that you are the leader, especially if you're now able to influence the thousands, now basically allows you to then know that you're doing well because your income is basically then proportionate to how many people you then influence.
Yeah, that's
So
yeah. In fact, I mean, most of the time, we always start with the most simple person to lead, which is actually not the most simple. It is most the most challenging. We start with leading ourselves.
yeah,
Yeah, you have to lead yourself first, and then once you know how to lead yourself, then you know how to lead a small team. Like what Dr. Wayne said, maybe a family. All of us are leaders in our own families because we have influence over our spouses or children or even our better halves and so on, right? So yes, we definitely need to learn how to lead. And I think Doc has brought up a very good topic we can talk about today.
yeah, and so from there, what does a leader look like? And each leader is different because we have our own personalities. And each leader then will attract different people at their level, at where they are, they'll bring in similar people. So whenever you feel frustrated about maybe your team not going where you want to go to, look within, because when you look within, you'll then find that the very reason that your leaders are stuck are the same reasons that you are stuck. So the first thing is then identifying that in a responsible manner, not beating yourself up, just acknowledging it, and then putting things into, from a ancient medicine perspective, the way to better health and better becoming a better person is developing routines. Another word we could use is commitment, being committed, the same as we are committed to, 10 o'clock our time here, in Queensland, and it's 8 o'clock your time. We're committed to basically putting this podcast together, this video. Um, so it's then the most important thing, I think, initially is looking at exactly how you can now look at your routines, and you might look at those routines and go, I'm happy with this, I'm happy with this, but I can do more with that. Or some of you might be going, whoops, I haven't got a routine. So, and the routine, and I know we've touched on this before, but just reinforcing it again, the routine initially should be about you, away from social media, away from email. So initially it's about you. So whether that be meditation first, then exercise, then reading books, and then looking at different types of audibles, but being committed to that process of routine is really, really important to allow you to become that leader that others want to aspire to, but you feel good about who you are as well.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I mean, we talk about, I think we mentioned this some time back when Dr. Wayne and I, we were talking about starting something like this. And we went through this part where we kind of like brainstorm for ideas and what to do and names and so on. But kind of got stuck in a spiral in a sense, right? But then we just decided, let's just do it. We committed to a time, a fixed time every week, as far as possible. We do try to do it every week on the same time, but some weeks due to certain traveling, we kind of move it around a bit. But in essence, once we committed to that Friday morning and doing this, of course, the first 1 or 2 weeks, you got to remind each other, but after a while, it became a routine. But I also want to kind of maybe bring out another point that because of what Dr. Wayne was talking about, sometimes we need to self-assess ourselves, and even like for health, for example, right? If you go to a proper medical checkup, maybe that's one way of doing self-assessment. But at the same time, actually, the body kind of gives you self-assessment as well. For example, hopefully you don't feel it, but pain is a form of self-assessment from the body, right? Telling you that you might need to do something about that shoulder or that knee and kind of, put in certain routines to help you. It's the same for our business as well. So we kind of need to sit down. And I'm pretty sure in all our businesses, no matter what companies you are in, or if some of you are new to this as well, when you join a company, they have a very good full suite of back office tools. And these back office tools will guide you to have a very good kind of checkup on your business. So for example, that helps you to do a self-assessment. And so if you're not seeing certain numbers in your business, then that is how you can self-assess for yourself, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So after that, then when we committed to doing this, now what we have done is that it becomes a lot easier. And so every week we are able to come out with a podcast, and that is a sign of a commitment and discipline. And for you, that will be the same. You have to come out with a certain routine that you do. And you notice what Dr. Wayne talked about just now. A lot of it is helping you first, in a way. Meditation, getting you in the right frame of mind, and then exercise, keeping your body and functioning in a tip-top condition. Because when your body is in tip-top condition, your mind is also sharper. And then when you go and talk to somebody else, it is a little bit, you are in a way you're in a higher plane, and you're much better in communication as well, I think.
Most definitely. And then there's, as Bob Proctor and all the greats talk about, when you are at a certain vibrational frequency, then what happens that like a butterfly effect then goes out, and then it allows you then to attract certain people. And you can do your own self-assessment in terms of, if you look at different pods of people, like if you look at where you are, they say you look at the 5 friends, your 5 best friends, and they will then basically do similar things to you, have within around about $10,000 or $5,000, the same amount in your bank account. And it's really like, really interesting how that happens, like I've never smoked in my life, and I've really never had a friend who's been a smoker. And then you talk to people who are smokers, and all their friends are all smokers, or people who consume a lot of alcohol, you'll find that their friends consume a lot of alcohol as well. And what happens is when we look at our self-assessment, as BK was mentioning before, if we look at that self-assessment, look at the things that we enjoy about who we are, and then look at the things in terms of that we know we might not or should not be doing, and then look at those to try and improve them in our meditation and our exercise and that as well. And, a good question to ask. So say, for example, you might be a smoker. I'll use that one because it just came up. So when you're about to reach for a cigarette and you do want to stop, ask the question, what would a non-smoker do right now? So if you, same in business, and you might not be where you are in the ranks that you want. So then the question would be, what would a diamond. I think diamond's a typical rank in most network marketing companies. So what would a diamond do right now that is different than what I might do? And it's a really good question to bring you back to understanding where you are, but then what can I do to allow myself to get to that next level, or that next rank, or that next um, part of you that, and we're talking about leaders, becoming a leader, what part of you now will step up for you to become a leader? And I remember distinctly when I made the choice that I wanted to now speak in front of people to help other people understand what I had learned. And I chose to talk to my own industry, the wellness industry. And I think my first talk, there was around about 20 to 25 people. And these were people who were from medical doctors to naturopaths to all the different industries in the wellness industry. And it was kind of like, I didn't sleep for 4 days. I was so nervous. And I remember my staff saying, all you got to do is read the slides. All you got to do is read the slides. And if I go back even, now that was back, let's just say 20 plus years ago. And then only about probably 5 years ago, I made the transition. Like, to do this, I could not have done this without some sort of script. Okay, for me to do something that was ad lib was very difficult. But the main thing, and going back to the theme that we started with commitment and consistency through routine, and keep on doing it. Like, if I look back, and I'm sure you'd be the same, BK, if you look back at the first time you presented yourself in front of other people, you go, whoa. And even if I look back at the presentations I did a year ago, today they're so much better. And this is now stepping up to be a leader. And I think we were speaking a little bit just before, BK, with regards to how you're helping your leaders. I think that'll be a really good thing to discuss as well, in terms of how you're helping your leaders.
I mean, we kind of like, in fact, Dr. Wayne and I, we have been talking about this. Maybe we'll do this sometime. We want to release a bloopers edition of the Candid conversations, because we sometimes find that before we come on and talk about this, we do have a lot of gems and our personal things, insights that we find could be quite useful for people. Maybe we'll do that since it's all recorded anyway. Yeah. So Doc and I were talking about something just now, and of course it was inspired by something that I was listening to yesterday by Bob Proctor. So he was saying that you don't really know something. I can't remember the exact words he used, but basically it's like you don't really know or don't really understand something until you are able to teach it to someone else in simple terms that they are able to understand you, right? So once you can do that, you find that is actually, you have fully understood it or internalized it for yourself. And this is something I found to be very, very true in all of my career so far. In fact, in this industry, it is exactly the same. Sometimes your team members may have gone through a certain presentation that your company puts out, maybe 10, 20, even 50 times. But if they are only on the receiving end, they actually don't really fully internalize it yet. Yeah. So what I've done is actually just quickly, I conducted certain trainings for them to say, learn how to present the presentation. But of course, I always give a very simple caveat, because sometimes when you kind of tell people to do this, they are afraid that I'll be forced to do the presentation, or I'll be asked to do the presentation next time, right? So for me, whenever I do something like that, I always do something like, I always tell them that the caveat is very simple. Just learn how to do this, but it's entirely up to you on whether you want to step up and do the presentation in the future or not. But whatever it is still a good skill to pick up. And then they're comfortable to try it. So for those who come and learn that presentation, to learn how to present the presentation, right? What happens is then after that, a lot of times they come back and tell me things like, I never knew that it was like that. I never knew that this is what we were talking about all along, whatever subject matter it was. Because when they started to learn how to present, and basically meaning they learn how to teach other people, they fully internalize the subject matter. And so, if you are stuck in anything that you are stuck in now, maybe you can pull another friend or pull another teammate and try to teach that to them. So, for example, we've been talking about things like meditation, and and you don't really quite get it. So maybe you could pull another friend who has never done meditation before and then kind of teach them about it. You will realize that your own understanding will go up by leaps and bounds, and that actually will help you more than just trying to do it on your own every time.
Oh, so true, so true. Yeah, yeah, and that's the way we learn. That's the way we then become that leader that we know that is deep down inside us. So, and as said, some people just may only want to be, whether the word leader is the right word, irrelevant, but I'm sure you get what we mean, is whether you just want to be that person for your family, whether you want to do that just for a small team of 10 or 20, whether you want to take that to the hundreds or whether you want to take that to the thousands. The major theme that we would like to suggest is the human body, the human mind does not like being dormant. Dormancy, or not doing anything, not changing, not stressing the body and the mind, creates illness of the mind and creates illness of the body. And the greatest, when the human body and mind is put under some of the greatest challenges, we then actually come out of that as a tribe, as a nation, so much stronger. And it's the same with each individual person. So the word we're using here is leader. It might not be the one that resonates with you, and that's okay. It's just, okay, what can we do to become that better person? And the theme of this is, how can I commit to improving my routine? Then asking maybe a question: what would blah do? If it's, if you want to become a non-smoker, what would a non-smoker do? If you want to become a diamond, what would a diamond be? Or you might be just starting out and you might go, what would a network marketer do in this instance? Okay, go and build the list. You go and find the list, divide it up into cold, warm, and hot. Whatever it may be, for you to move forward, think of, okay, that's a really good question to ask. What would blah do? And then you'd find answers, and the brain then loves that because it loves being challenged.
Yeah, yeah, and there are a lot of ways that, of course, we cannot cover all of them, but there are many ways. Some you have to look at yourself and understand your own style. Some people like breaking down lists. They like to list down things and then they like to check off the list. Some people might be overwhelmed when they see a huge list and then they just say, I'm not going to do anything, right? And instead they just like to do, okay, let's do one item first and then I'll just finish it and then I write the next item and I finish that. And if that's your style, you just choose a style that suits you, which is, I think, again, part of the reason why Dr. Wayne and I are so in love with our industry is because we just have a smorgasbord of people, people who want to come in and earn an extra $150, $200 a week for their families, and people who want to earn $150,000 a month for their families, that kind of thing. So everyone is accepted, everyone is encouraged, everyone is given the same set of skills, and the interesting part of it is that regardless of whether you want to be earning $150 to earning $100,000, the same skill sets applies, right? The same skill sets applies, and you are still now. I know Dr. Wayne was talking about leaders and so on, and sometimes when we hear the word leader, we kind of envision someone who stands on a stage or someone who's on the public television and addressing the nation and so on. Yes, that's a leader, of course, right? But when we talk about leadership or leading here, I think in a way, maybe to think about it, it would be just deciding to want to set an example for someone else, right? So when you want to set an example for your family, because I think like right now in this current climate now, right? Maybe for those of us who are parents, you may want to consider like, what kind of examples are you setting for your children if they are watching Netflix every day, you know, or if you're doing nothing wrong with that, you know, if you want to enjoy a little bit of entertainment, that's also good. But at the same time, your children will be watching you. You know, the common saying is that children do not do what they are told, they do what they see you do, right? And
Yeah.
so parents, when we lead by setting examples, that is really literally the definition of leadership. Then our children would be following along and so on and so forth, right? And same thing with our teams. You know, when we set an example for the team, they will also follow along and do the same. Yeah.
Yes, most definitely, most definitely. And it's there's so many different ways. There's so many different ways this can be achieved, and we have to find our own way. And that's the brilliant part that I love about network marketing, as you were mentioning, BK. We all come with our positives and we all come with our challenges, and each leader or each person that wants to help will then basically reach across to try and help that person. And this is the only industry that I've actually seen where that really happens, no matter where one may sit on that ladder, so to speak. And as mentioned, other podcasts, I've worked for people, I've worked for the government, I've been my own boss, I've put together companies that have done exceptionally well. But at the same time, this particular industry is something unique because you can see, as you mentioned before, just before BK, you can look in your back office and literally see where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are. And what we need to do is keep on doing the things in the routine area, and then that will keep on being positive there. And then you notice the weaknesses, and then we need to strengthen that. So the question then is, what would a bar do? What would a diamond do to make that better? If you don't know yourself, then you reach out to your upline or the person who you know might have an answer for you.
Yeah.
This is fantastic in terms of what this industry has to offer.
Yeah. And don't be shy. You know, I yesterday I was just telling some friends as well, that, or some team members as well, that this is the industry where we cannot be shy. In fact, even for asking for help, right? Never be shy. Reach out to your team members. Reach out to your leaders. Again, another reason why we love this industry, we always have access to leaders that are open and more than willing to help you, right? When you reach out for assistance, for advice, they will always make time for you. Now, of course, the caveat here is that be polite, be coachable, and it's not demanding for somebody's time. But when you actually reach out for someone to help you, there's always access and openness in this sense, and I love it. So sometimes people are stuck in a groove, and they can't really, there's in a rut, right? They don't really know what they're doing. Just reach out, make a phone call to the nearest team member or leader that you have, and just ask them, hey, I'm actually not sure why I'm not able to do this, or I'm stuck here. Can you help me? And I can tell you 99%, in fact, if it's 110%, that person will be there to be able to help you, for sure.
Most definitely, yeah. You have to excuse the truck noises. The garbage is being picked up. If you can hear it, great. Sorry, if you can't, that's good.
He has a routine as well.
I think that sums it up pretty well there, BK, in terms of just look within, find out where your strengths are, find out where your weaknesses are, ask questions about how you can then move forward with that to aspire to become that person that you want to be. And this industry, is one of the best industries to allow that to occur. And when you've got people like Richard Branson, Robert Kiyosaki, Bob Proctor, all these greats basically saying that this industry is one of the best industries you can ever be in. And I can't remember who, but one of the greats basically said that this will be the industry where most people will be aspiring to get into in the next 5 to 10 years. So I truly believe that, because it's one of the cleanest industries that I've come across. Of course, In the past, there's been some bad names given about the industry. That's only because of the way the ethos and that was set up, unfortunately. But if you look at a company with an unbelievable ethos that then has an unbelievable product, whatever that may be for each company, and then you take that and you run with it, aspire to be that leader, aspire to have change in your life, accept the changes, understand the roller coaster of it will be a roller coaster, enjoy that roller coaster, and then things just happen nicely for you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Doc, for another week of interesting discussions. And maybe we'll really just explore the possibility of including some bloopers next time.
That'd be fantastic.
Stay, stay
That'd be really good.
happy and take care. We'll see you next week.
Will do. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Bye, everyone.